I will talk about my experience. I was evaluated in the panel P4, so physical and analytical chemical science. Just a few words about my profile. So I'm a full professor at the Department of Chemistry at the University of Liège. And in 2006, I took up the chair of AFM and built a new lab from scratch. So I have about 15 years of independent career. My group is made on 8 researchers on average, so postdocs and PhD students. And my research is really a niche in a very small community. And I will mention something about my CV because it was a big concern for me. So my CV is really atypical with a much lower number of publications than what is considered to be the standard. But I publish in very high profile journals. And this was something that, so as I mentioned, was a concern for me. And that's why I hesitated a lot before submitting an advanced grant. In fact, I think about that during 10 years. Should I submit or not? And the decision to go, and when I decided to be ready, for my CV, I waited for sufficient significant research achievements to report in my CV. And for the project, I waited until I considered that I had the attractive ID. So a question that really requires a paradigm shift. And for many years, I have tried to feed this, let's say, ID. Sometimes I was thinking about that, taking some notes. And when I considered that the ID was there, I decided to go. But the last and not least criterion was the possibility to freeing up enough time and energy for the preparation of the project. Because of course, when you are full professor, you have a lot of teaching, of administration, of responsibilities, and this is really, really difficult to find enough time to work hard on the project. And in my case, the first lockdown was really a chance to prepare the submission. So when I decided to go, I attended webinars that were organized by a company which provides specialized services related to ERC funding schemes. I read carefully the work program and information for applicants and guide for referees, because the point and questions to be addressed are really mentioned in black and white in this document. So this is really, really important to read them and try to find information that can feed up the way you write your project. I watched the videos on the ERC classes that are available on YouTube. So the ERC has made some videos, how to write B1, how to write B2, and all that stuff. And these are helpful. And also I got support from the ERC Center at my university. I could discuss with previous laureates and with panel members, of course, not panel members of my panel, but people who are in different panels. Then when I start writing, I started with the CV, then B1, and most of the time, what I heard from several advices is to start with B2, but I started with B1. And in fact, this is also the way I write my papers. I always start with the abstract, really to fix the main message I would like to write in the proposal. So that's why I started with B1, which is only 5 pages, just to fix really the message. Then I wrote B2, and of course then I come back to B1 to refine it, and also because when you write B2, you have other ideas that can feed B1. And I really tried to address and answer the questions that are asked to the referees. So this is important that's why this is important that you really read this guide for the referees. So, but this is also mentioned in the guide for applicants. So about the research project, that it should be groundbreaking in nature, it should be ambitious and feasible. And so I really tried to demonstrate that. And about the principal investigator, try to evidence the intellectual capacity and creativity. So I tried to balance the high risk, high gain versus the feasibility. So my advice is not all eggs in one basket. So I try to have different levels of risks in the project, with intermediate steps with moderate risks. So only part of the project was very risky, and I provided a mitigation plan. And it seems that I succeeded in making this balance, because it was mentioned in the final report of the project that the project was very high risk, but there are some steps that are of moderate risk, and there was enough gain in this moderate risk part, so that even if the very risky part failed, there was sufficient, success was guaranteed. About the feasibility, I based the feasibility on the literature, but also on my 10 years track record, where I mentioned my main achievements, my international recognition in leadership, and the training and advancement of young scientists, and also on my past achievements. So I tried to refer to my past achievement to show that I had the ability to run this project. And I tried to show that I was the right person to make this project a success. I think this is very important. I had no preliminary data. I was also advised to show preliminary data, but I had none. So, of course, none was mentioned. So I really tried to show the feasibility based on this past achievement and on the literature. And yes, it seems that preliminary result was not mandatory, since I succeeded without that. This is important, I think, to explain the expected results and impact on other fields that other than your own field. So I submitted my project in 2020, and I was evaluated. So I passed step 1, and I received an A at step 2. So A means, and this is clearly written in the report, that the project fully meets the ERC excellence criterion and is recommended for funding if sufficient funds are available. But unfortunately, I was ranked just below the cutoff, so my project was not funded. But I received very positive feedbacks, very positive reports. I was evaluated by 8 referees. So my question was, when should I resubmit my proposal? should I wait for 1 year to be in the same panel that reviewed my proposal? Because the panel, in fact, the panel changes. I mean, you recover the same panel every 2 years, or at least almost the same panel, because of course there is a turnover. But if from 1 year to the other one, the panel completely changes. So my question was, should I wait to 1 year to recover the same panel for the memory effects, since my project was evaluated very positively, or should I submit directly to the next call in a completely other panel? So I just think a lot about that, and finally I decided to resubmit directly the year after, so in a completely different panel. So I put no changes in my project, only updates and some clarifications. And I mentioned, because of course the panel don't know the history of your project. So the panel don't know that you have already submitted the year before. So I just mentioned in my 10 years track record section that this project was evaluated in step 2 in the previous call. But I just mentioned the facts. So in my past achievement, I consider this as an achievement. So I just put this sentence as an achievement, just the fact. So I passed step 1. So I got an interview, which was very, very harsh. So it was only technical questions related to issues raised by the referees. So of course you don't know the questions before or the concern before the interview. So those questions were asked, and they were asked at a very infernal rate. So I had no time to finish my answers. So I just tried to answer, and then the next question came. And it was really, really rapid. And so this was a very unpleasant experience for me. And I was not optimistic when it was finished. I really thought that I failed. But finally, it was a pleasant outcome when the results were announced. And I would like to mention that finally this interview was really, really a good opportunity to answer the concerns of the referees and the panel members. And that's why they asked so many questions, because this was questions mentioned during the panel meeting, or I don't know, or by external reviewers. And this is really like when you answer to question for a paper, when you receive the concerns of the referee, you answer, and you have to convince, you have to show more, I don't know, more facts, you have to explain in more details. And in the final report I received, it was really mentioned in the report of the panel that the interview has helped a lot to solve all the issues that were raised during the reviewing process. So I think that's it was really important, at least in my case, because it seems that I could really convince and answer to the question. And I think that they just, it was really quick, and this read was just because they wanted to ask as many questions as possible, and they were just satisfied by the beginning of my answer, and then they stopped me, they passed to the next question, and so on. This is my last slide. So my advice is to work hard and just good luck.